I said I wanted to fight Kane at the top of the pyramid for the title. I thought that would have been a perfect final match, Undertaker versus Kane. But Owen Hart beat Kane, and then Shamrock beat. You know, I I I'm fine with Shamrock being the final boss again. Maybe he'll put up more of a fight this time than he did when I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But this is a great rivalry. Um, I watched a lot of. I mean, I've watched all the wrestling that's ever been out. I think I've seen every single pay-per-view a couple of times, honestly. But the Undertaker and Mankind rivalry in 1996, when Mankind first debuted, is fantastically good. Um, Undertaker was coming off this spell of matches against big useless lumps. You know, in 1993 he was feuding with with Giant Gonzalez and Papa Shango and Kamala, and then in 1994 he was wrestling the Yokozuna, who I love Yokozuna, but he's not the most athletic of guys, and he was wrestling, you know, King Kong Bundy and IRS um, and Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine, and just all these big useless lumps who he couldn't have a good match with. And then Mankind came in 1996 and just, you know, had great matches with him, fantastic matches with him, really physical war that was so undifferent, so different to what we'd seen previously, and it really put Mankind on the map, but also gave Undertaker something good to do, something juicy to sink his teeth into as a performer for the first time in about 4 years. So yeah, just great stuff. You can see why they were friends, and of course their most famous match was the 1998 King of the Ring. I keep whipping him around. I'm trying not to just use the same move over and over again, but I kind of am defaulting to just using the same move over and over again. I'll try and vary it up a little bit for you, for you guys. You know, I don't want to bore any of you guys. So yeah, the difficulty wise, it's not too dissimilar really. I don't know what kind of difference, whether it makes the wrestlers faster, makes them like, I feel like they blocked a lot in easy mode too. So I think them blocking is just maybe down to the character more so than the difficulty level. But I'm not having any difficulties with anyone so far. Might be famous last words, of course. Generally speaking, as soon as I get confident is when I suddenly get my butt kicked. That missile dropkick's great. That does a lot of damage. I'm going to try and hit another one, because that seems to like strip a whole bar of colour off of his health meter. Okay. I wonder if he had successfully, that was a big boot. I wonder if he had successfully bounced off the ropes there, would that have knocked me on my ass? I'm trying some different combinations of directions and face buttons to see if I can do some different moves. There we go. I mentioned before as well the comedy of doing these voice recording sessions. Like, I do find the thought of the Undertaker sitting in a booth, you know, in his jeans and t-shirt, you know, his casual clothes when he's not performing, you know, grimacing, rest in peace into a microphone, and then stepping out of the booth so that Goldust can go in and do the same thing. I find that pretty amusing. Sorry, I've gone quiet again. I was focused on not embarrassing myself. I don't know, I'm probably putting too much weight on my shoulders for that. Really, the game's not as difficult as it looks. You know, when you look at the move list, I think one of my friends who watch these videos, and if you're out there Hi Matty. I hope you're still enjoying yourself. But he commented on seeing the move list because he'd never played this game when he was a kid, and just thinking it looked like the a nightmare and the most complicated thing in the world. Which it could definitely be easier. You know, there's definitely easier ways to put together a move list than having to pause every 5 seconds and look up the directions. Okay, building some good momentum here. I kind of want to go for the drop kick again. I liked throwing him out of the, I like throwing people out of the ring. I maybe need to try and figure out how to do that on purpose, rather than just me occasionally doing it accidentally and being amazed by my abilities every time it happens. I like that big, I think that big rebound power slam off the ropes is a cool move too. Okay, and big choke slam. He should be in red now. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for the tombstone. That's the gut wrench powerbomb. Okay, I'm going to let him get to his feet, and then I'm going to wipe him out with this drop kick, and then we're going to tombstone him and end it. I'm calling my spots. Bam, right in the side of the head. Tombstone. Tombstone's a good one because, as you recall, when I would hit the stunner, if he was already stunned, the stunner would kind of wake him up by making his stun meter drop, which seems counterintuitive. But in this, because the Undertaker goes straight into a pin animation after hitting the tombstone, it doesn't seem to matter what level of stun they're at. Like, it's not going to wake him up because he goes straight into a pin, which is really convenient. Back to the old cutscenes. I wonder if it's the same lady. She must have got bored of Stone Cold.
I saw your win tonight. Very impressive.
There's the lavender wine that I pointed out last time as well. I should have Googled that to find out if lavender wine is a real thing.
No one can carry the Federation on his back like I have. Not even you, you dirty piece of trash. The problem with this world is that people like you are turned into heroes by this sick society. Being the man that I am, I accept your challenge, and I'll be able to prove that you are worthless.
That was pretty mean. Grudge match number 2. Is it going to be in a steel cage again? Is the big question. I guess it's probably just like a coin flip. You know, the game just decides which of the, because there's only 2 stipulation matches really, the cage and the weapons match.
The revolutionary force in sports entertainment. Hello everyone, I'm Vince McMahon.
Okay. Starting off slow. Man, I really like that big uppercut he does, but it's hard to hit. Really, I have to get kind of lucky. Bret Hart's big cage match at SummerSlam 1994 with his brother Owen. That's a great match, but I think it divides opinion really, because it is 30 minutes of the two of them just scampering for the door and trying desperately to run away from each other, which doesn't make a huge amount of sense in a blood feud. But I think psychology-wise, they're both desperately trying to be WWF champions, so it makes sense, and I'm happy with that. I like the match very much. I kept getting interrupted by his offense in the previous Bret Hart match, but I was trying to talk about these two. They're great matches in real life. So Royal Rumble 96 was fantastic, and their match at SummerSlam 1987 was also very good. That's the one where Shawn Michaels is the referee, and it kind of starts the road towards Montreal and Bret Hart's departure from the company. It also gave us the feud that gave us the first Hell in a Cell match, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels inside the very first Hell in a Cell match. I don't know whose idea the Hell in a Cell match was. I remember reading in Shawn Michaels' book about they wanted to do a steel cage match at the Bad Blood pay-per-view in 1997, and at the time the steel cage looked like the one you're looking at right now, where it's big, chunky metal bars and it was painted black. And Shawn Michaels thought it looked a bit naff, and so he suggested getting like a chain link fence so it would look a little bit more menacing and imposing. And having to explain to Vince, like, the Undertaker's an athletic guy. He definitely doesn't need the big chunky cage. He can climb like a chain link fence. He's an athletic dude. And Vince, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And then they went to the arena, Undertaker and Shawn, to see the structure that they'd come up with, and it was the Hell in a Cell. With this kind of clearance around the ring, and so they could brawl on the outside, and it had a roof on it, and all this kind of stuff. And well, you know what a Hell in a Cell looks like, and they both loved it. And of course, the rest is history. It spawned its own pay-per-view series, and it spawned some of the best matches in WWF history, WWE history, and of course, probably one of the Undertaker's most famous moments, throwing Mankind off of the cell. I'm trying to chokeslam him, but he's not really cooperating. How dare he not just be chokeslammed? I mean, I'm not having any issues with him, am I?
He's down. Undertaker has a real opportunity here. Undertaker starts climbing the cage. He's got to give the fans what they want.
Big falling fist drop from the cage.
Oh, yeah.
High drama.
On Bret the Hitman. The fans are
And he just no-sells it and suplex me. That's fine.
The Undertaker pressing his advantage now. There's no mercy in this man. They lock horns. Bret is in a bad spot now. It's only a matter of time now.
I just want to hit him with the tombstone and win. But he's efficient. He is the excellent. He's in a lot of ways the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I liked his pre-Grudge match promo because it's clearly 1997, heel Bret Hart when he was mad at America. Which is a good. It was a good gimmick then. It's a good gimmick now, I think. There's a lot to be said for being mad at America. So one little difference I have noticed between the two difficulties is when I was in easy mode, when I would win these cage matches, once I was climbing out and it was obvious it was over, my opponent would just kind of shake the cage, like angrily shake the cage, like he was mad at me. And both Mosh and Bret Hart just there, they started climbing the cage themselves, which is, I think, in easy mode, I don't think I saw a single character actually try to climb the cage and escape to win. And in both these times, it was far too late. I was already out of the cage. But there's a little difference in the. I don't want to say AI. AI is probably too grandiose a term for what this game has going on, but.